Hey, what's going on? I'm Kohler here, and today we're going to talk about what I think is kind of one of the biggest challenges, one of the biggest blind spots, and therefore one of the biggest opportunities for the average organization. And it has to do with how you onboard your employees, and more specifically, how and what you train them on in that first 90 days. Look, if you're like most organizations, most likely you've checked off two core parts of onboarding. You collect all their paperwork. You make sure that you get their I-9 and W-4 and all that type of information, their direct deposit forms, and you flood them with policies. Here's our employee handbook. Sign off you received it. Here's our sexual harassment policy. Here's our PTO policy. Here's whatever the case. Big giant stack of policies that you provide for them and have them sign off that they received them. But that doesn't mean they actually understand any of them. Specifically because that's a ton of information completely out of context of what their new job's going to be. Now, secondly, we throw them to the manager, and the manager teaches them their daily tasks. And what this leaves out is if you think about it at the top, HR policies, I've got this little four-part Venn diagram, HR policies and procedures, that type of stuff. At the bottom, daily tasks and things they're supposed to do. But on the right and the left is what I call context. And it's what most employers do a pretty poor job of teaching in that first 90 days. Context about the customer, who is our target customer, how are they segmented out, what makes somebody a great customer, what makes somebody a poor fit customer, like how do we, what is their challenge? Why are they out there looking for a solution to it? All those types of things, vitally important to understand what we do on a daily basis and how it impacts the customer. And then on the opposite side, we have the industry, the what is our industry landscape and what is the ecosystem and where do we fit in it and how do we compare against our competitors, against complementary services, against vendors, against integration partners. What is our standing in that industry? Are we the underdog? Are we the disruptor? Are we the old guard? Are we the new guard? Like, where do we fit in there? And that should give us the ability to then present our mission and vision of what we're trying to accomplish, and then our culture and values. You see, saying that you have certain core values without them aligning to a mission or without actually knowing what the mission is can make it really hard for employees to tangibly connect it to their daily work. Now, a lot of organizations try to cover some of this stuff in the kind of orientation, in that 1 to 2 hour meeting that you do in the first week or so. And while that is important to give them as much knowledge as possible to get them going, that doesn't mean that they're actually going to remember any of it. So the core takeaways from this: number one, do we have a holistic picture of knowledge that we are giving to our employees? And yes, that means that's a lot more information than we were sending before, which brings us to part two. How are we teaching that and disseminating it over time? Multiple touch points across 90 days, not all at once in the first 2 days. And that really is kind of the core two areas of focus when it comes to building an amazing, not just onboarding, but new hire activation and immersion approach. Is, once again, do we have the full picture? Are we being holistic in what we're teaching them? And number two, are we slowing down? Not saying to not do the orientation. You can still fire hose those employees, but expecting that they'll remember them or even remember where it's at or even go back and refer to those documents after 1 day of training is kind of like freshman orientation at college and expecting that the students remember where everything's at, right? They're in a brand new environment, a brand new situation, only this is even higher stakes than college was, higher stakes than going into a new school. Their livelihood depends on how they do in this new job, and everything is most likely foreign to them. The organization, the leadership, the product, the services, their coworkers, their managers. Literally, they are in a completely unknown and uncertain environment. And so these two parts, giving them a holistic picture. And number two, breaking it down into smaller chunks and spreading it across 90 days are the two key pieces to building a powerful program. Thanks so much for watching today. I've got additional videos coming up. And so if you have any questions or comments, shoot me an email. I'd love to hear from you. Ryan at 321forms.com. Otherwise, we'll chat again soon.